If we don't show up tomorrow, it is entirely possible that we will not have the opportunity to ever cast a ballot again.
What a wild week in politics. The liberals are losing their minds. The right is celebrating. What does it mean for me and you as Christians? We'll talk about it next. We'll go through it here on the Faith and Power podcast. Welcome to the Faith and Power podcast. I am your host, Evangelist E.R. Hotard, also assistant pastor of Full Gospel Lighthouse in Sweeney, Texas. So let's get into it. What is the biggest thing everybody's talking about in the land today? It is the election this week and how the election went and how people thought it was going to go. Now, once all the dust is settled, not everything has been certified yet, but we know who's going to win the election. Donald Trump has been elected as the next president of the United States. Now, he's had 4 years. We've seen a lot of good things, and I've seen some things that I didn't care for in 4 years. And I believe that all of us can say that. But I believe that Donald Trump was protected by God when the bullet went by his head and should have killed him that day. He was protected by God himself. God Almighty protected him because he has a reason for him. And I'm going to tell you, all you people that saying, well, how can God use such a man? God uses imperfect people to do his perfect will. And here are the some of the liberals and what the news people are saying. All of these people are the news broadcast. The news itself is dying. It is completely dying. That's why you have more podcasts. You have more people listening to podcasts of all sorts, because the news is dying. It's skewed. Here it is. You have liberals that have they have all of Hollywood. They have the media, and they still couldn't beat Donald Trump. You know why? Because it's people like you that look for the truth. We're looking at things, and let's go through it. Let's start here. These clips are absolutely crazy.
There's misogyny, but it's not just misogyny from white men. Mm-hmm. It's misogyny from Hispanic men.
Right.
It's misogyny from black men. Things we've all been talking about, who do not want a woman leading them. Might be race issues with Hispanics. They don't want a black woman as president of the United States. You know, the Democratic Party, I've always found when you're sitting around talking, they love to just sort of balkanize everybody into these separate groups and say, oh, white people don't like women and black people. No, it is time for the Democrats to say, okay, and you and I have talked about this before, a lot of Hispanic voters have problems with black candidates.
Right.
A lot
and
of,
with other Hispanics. You got some that don't like each other. And some of the most misogynist things I've heard going on this Get Out the Vote tour came from black men. I mean, misogynist things. So you're absolutely right. It's not simplistic. And we've got to have real honest conversation.
Misogyny. They're saying that Kamala Harris, people didn't go out to vote just because she was a woman. So it didn't have anything to do with inflation. Didn't have anything to do with our Christian rights is being taken away. They don't believe in Christianity. They don't believe in wholesomeness. They put transgenders in women's bathrooms. I have daughters. I do not want a man to walk into a bathroom with my child. They're cutting healthy body parts off of healthy teenagers because they say that they're sexually I'm sorry, I can't think of the word. Anyway, they think they're a different sex. So we start cutting body parts off of kids because they're making decisions. Where are the grown-ups in the room? I don't trust a teenager to walk down the street by themselves. We've got to oversee them of everything that they do, because you never know what they're going to get into. And I'm going to tell you right now, as a teenager, I did not know what in the world I was going to do with the rest of my life. But we're letting them make decisions on their body parts of cutting something off. Come on, give me a break. This has went too far. They're pushing. Not only are they doing it, but they're pushing it on our schools. They're pushing it on us. And if we don't believe, then we're hateful, or then we're homophobic, transphobic. See, if you don't agree with their policies, then there's something wrong with you. See, this is not the America that we grew up in. I'm nearly 47 years old now. This is not the America I grew up in. These are not values of America. Values of America are mother and father and their children. But no, the left don't want that. It's the patriarchy that's got to be broken up. Therefore, broken families. Therefore, abortion. We're going to get into abortion probably a little bit later. But I'm going to tell you, that's one of the things Kamala ran on was abortion. You've lost Catholics. You've lost majority of all Christians, because we are not standing up for the slaughtering of innocent children in any fashion. Here we are. Let's take a look at this.
That I'd like to reframe the conversation. I think Bernie Sanders is wrong. I think the more relevant question actually is, what is wrong with America? I think what is wrong with our country that the Republican Party would choose as a candidate and support a candidate who is an insurrectionist, who is an election denier, who is someone who is twice impeached, 34-time convicted felon, someone who has been accused of alleged sexual misconduct by 26 women, found liable for sexual abuse. What is wrong with this country that they would choose a message of divisiveness, of xenophobia, of racism, of misogyny, over a message of inclusiveness, a message for the people, by the people, of the people? That is what the problem is. It's the Republican Party.
It's, why would we vote for a person like Donald Trump? Because do you see how they react to, if you don't, their inclusiveness don't include me and you as Christians. It don't include anybody that stands for Donald Trump. Their inclusiveness is not inclusiveness. It's very exclusiveness. They look through everything as in a view of, is it their race or their sex or their gender. And now all of those are skewed because they don't even know what a woman is anymore. They can't give you a definition of what a woman is. But that's how they look at everything. That's how they appoint people. If you don't do it by race, hold on. Let's see. If you don't do it by race, then somehow you're hateful. Ain't that the whole problem with racism to start with? Because you're doing something because of somebody's color? See, Martin Luther King said he wanted it wasn't by the color of the skin, but the content of one's heart. That the left has everything that they do is because of race. That's why they picked Kamala Harris. They placed her as a black woman, because in their eyes and in their book, it's all about the critical race theory. That is their new Bible. And you've got to elevate the minorities, whether it's black, whether it's Hispanic, whether it's Asians, and then you have to diminish the white man, the white woman. And they come against the white man and white woman, and it's all about race. It is not about the character of someone's heart. God created all of us, and He created us differently. He created us with different skin colors. It's time that we're stop being divided by race. The left is dividing by race, the same way that the left did whenever they was for slavery. It's the same thing. They was the party of slavery. Don't forget that. People forget that they was the party of slavery. And now here they are. They're dividing people on race all over again. They have repackaged it up, and they're presenting it to you in a different way. But here's the problem for them. So a lot of Hispanics, a lot of blacks voted for Donald Trump. Why would they do such a thing? Because of misogyny? No. It's because gas prices has went up. It's because inflation has went and skyrocketed. Inflation was around 1.5%. It went up to over 9 at one point during the Biden administration, and everything was fixing to break loose. Man, people was complaining they had to do something. You know why? The only reason inflation happens is because the government prints money. When the government prints money, inflation goes up, because the more money, then the less it's valued. The more they print it, the less it's valued. You can destroy if hyperinflation can destroy a country, can destroy a currency. That's why inflation is very, very dangerous if it goes up too fast and too high and too fast. It has everything to do. Why do they think it's race when it has everything to do with how if we have jobs, if we have enough money, if we go to the grocery store and can afford things? The same $300 in groceries doesn't go this far. So when you don't have much money, guess what? You've got to make decisions. You may not have the little bit nicer meat that you need. You have to go get the cheaper one. You may have to eat sandwiches instead of actually having a cooked meal, because these are the decisions that people have to make that don't have much money. We have to make those decisions. I still got to make those decisions. As a business owner, as a roofing company, guess what? All my materials have skyrocketed. So guess what? My estimates go up. And because everything in the store goes up, I have to pay more out in labor because they need more money for what they're doing. So all of these estimates go up. So guess what happens? My prices have went way up. Unfortunately, a lot of people cannot afford to pay. So instead of replacing the roof, they have to go and they have to get a repair, not a full replacement. This is happening all over in all different types of businesses. It's more to operate. More when you go out to eat, guess what? The prices have to go up. It's like $3 to get something to drink at a restaurant now. Most people are getting water, or they're not even going out to restaurants because of hyperinflation. This inflation has been crazy. That is the reason they voted for Donald Trump. We did not have this problem under Donald Trump. They have wars going on overseas. This is why that people voted for Donald Trump. And these people on the left believe it has to do with race. It has to do with a female. You're absolutely nuts. You're absolutely nuts. Has nothing to do with race and everything to do with whether we can put food on our table. And I've heard them say, why are you worried about so much about what goes on, how much you're paying at the grocery store when it has to do with there's more important issues? Really? My kids eating it should be top on my priority. I know y'all don't care about families because you kill little babies, but I'm going to tell you, I care about my children. I care about my family. And a majority of Americans do. They work hard to take care of their family, and family is first. The left has only become social justice warriors. That's all they are. They're not a political party no more. They're social justice warriors. They're looking for the new thing with social justice. And if you don't believe it, you're hateful, you're xenophobic, you're homophobic, you're transphobic, you're some kind of phobic. But guess what? It's not working no more. It's not working no more. When you start putting men in women's bathrooms, you put men in women's sports. I have a daughter that plays high school. I'm going to tell you, there's a big difference in between them boys and them girls. And they're putting boys on these girls' teams and wrestling and boxing and all these things, and they're getting destroyed. Because men's bodies are not made like women's bodies. Men are stronger, faster. But that doesn't mean that they are less than. But they have different attributes that we don't. And we may get into that another day. But we're going to stick with the politics today and how it's going to have to do with our church. Now we're going to have 4 years. We're going to have 4 years to that you're going to see Trump. We're going to see a better economy. But what's going to happen after those 4 years? You've got to stay vigilant. You've got to be positive. And we're going to have to get out and vote the next time, because we don't want, because a swipe of a pen, what Biden did when he got in office, he started undoing everything that Trump did. Now, I'll tell you what, I will call out Trump for things that he does. Some of the things he done on his campaign trail is absolutely a mockery. Some of the things he says, I do not agree with. But as a preacher, as an assistant pastor, I'm going to look at things and I've got to look at things as a whole. And as a whole, he is a much better candidate for president than what we had in Kamala Harris or any of these leftists. These leftists cannot get into control because our religious rights will be diminished to nothing. We'll take a break. We'll come back right after this.
You're listening to the Faith and Power Podcast, brought to you by Roofing Contractors of Texas. For all your roofing needs, commercial or residential, give them a call at 713-598-5220, 713-598-5220.
All right, let's go over this. And there's something that's really hanging over Trump's head, and I thought this was pretty neat, from Fortune magazine. And this is a pretty good article. And I'm going to read you some of this, and it has to do with the charges that was brought against Trump. It says, when Donald Trump became the first convicted felon to win presidency after a decisive election. And let's talk about that just for a second. The reason why, and on The View, they talked about him being, how can you elect a convicted felon? Because we understood from the beginning that they used the judicial system as a political weapon. That's the things that dictators do. They call him Trump a dictator. He's not a dictator. Doing dictator things like using the courts as a political weapon. Dictators use that. Third world countries use that. Not places like America. And we was not, as a people, are not going to stand up for people using the courts as a political weapon. Donald Trump was sitting in a perfect position to go after Hillary Clinton, and he let it go. You know why? Because people like us, we don't go after our political foes just because it's in court. Now, he probably made a mistake on that one, because they came back and bit him. But it says when Donald Trump became, he also pulled a get out of jail free card from a deck that prior to the election appeared to be stacked against him. Before Trump steps in the Oval Office for the second time, he will need to resolve a bevy of legal issues, including a conviction of 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. But his ascension to the presidency and the powers associated with means those legal troubles will essentially vanish. Legal experts say basically his criminal problems have gone away. Nima Rahmani, a former federal prosecutor and president and co-founder of the West Coast Trial Lawyers, told Fortune, using powers he will inherit as president, as well as reaping the rewards of his lawyers' past strategies and a little luck, Trump will return to the position as commander-in-chief with a clean legal slate, the biggest if of his future criminal court proceedings in this timeline, of which these cases will be diminished. Rahami argued, the question is, will they go away now, November, or December, or January, when Trump takes office, he says. Trump's office did not immediately respond to Fortune's request for comment. So here they are. They believe, here's a former federal prosecutor that believes that the Trump charges, they will all go away. I believe that you're going to see more court cases against Trump dropped, and you're going to all see this overturned. I guarantee you, he's not spending a day in jail now that he has was elected president. This was if you want to call it this, trumped up charges. They was coming against him from something that was absolutely ridiculous. They would have never came after him if he wasn't running for presidency. They claimed that Russia was interfering with elections. They did this, and they interfered with elections by going and trying to get charges and getting a conviction against Donald Trump. But guess what? It didn't work. We, the people, stood up and said, we see your plan. It's evil, and we're not standing up for evil. The Bible says, what the devil meant for evil, God will make it good. I believe God will make it good. God is making it good. And God has had his say. God's people need to stand up. We need to bind together and say, enough is enough of these liberal antics that they're doing. Enough is enough of seeing little children going to drag queen shows. Enough is enough of seeing boys in women's sports. Oh, Trump, let me see if I have that clip. Let me show you this clip real quick. This is Trump talking about this very subject.
My Department of Education will inform states and school districts that if any teacher or school official suggests to a child that they could be trapped in the wrong body, they will be faced with severe consequences, including potential civil rights violations. I will ask Congress to pass a bill establishing that the only genders recognized by the United States government are male and female, and they are assigned at birth.
That needs to happen. Politics, the liberals are losing their minds. The right is celebrating. What does it mean for me and you as Christians? Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. But this is what Trump needs to do immediately whenever he takes office. This has gotten out of control way too far. Thank God it's going to stop. Because I don't want my children learning about this in school. I don't want my grandchildren to learn about this in school. This is being pushed. It's an agenda. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of homosexuals and transgender people are not bad people. But the evilness behind the who masterminds the movement is what is evil. And it has everything to do with destroying the nuclear family. Black Lives Matter, if you went back to their page, they're lesbian women that wanted to do away with the nuclear family. The mother, father, and children in the home wanted to completely do away with it. So remember, when you stand up for something, you stand up with a group, you identify as a group, you wear their t-shirts, understand where they come from and what they are. And whenever you go to and back then, when you went to donate for Black Lives Matter, it went straight to the Democratic Party. So we're looking at this now, and things will change. But for how long? Now, did we hold it off for 4 years? It all depends on what we do. We are what's going to make a difference. And it's time that we stop worrying about what people say. And we stop worrying about if we're getting judged by politics or religion. And I'm here to tell you that politics and religion, they do go together. Jesus Christ is Lord. But we will stand up for what's right in America. I'm going to do that with this podcast. Let's hear what Sean Hannity has to say about the election.
I'm not going to spike the football tonight. We wish Kamala, all of her supporters, well, in spite of how horribly, despicably, repulsively they have treated many of us. President Trump, we're not garbage, we're not Nazis, we're not fascists. And in fact, in many ways, this is a good day for all Americans, even those that maybe supported the Harris campaign. Despite some fear-mongering on the left, Donald Trump is not going to rule as a dictator. Remember, he was president for 4 years. He will not be imprisoning his political opponents or take his haters off the airways. Rachel Maddow, the conspiracy theorist, will spread her lies and misinformation in perpetuity. Trump's second term will not be about retribution. Frankly, there is too much work to be done to fix this country. I mean, that's the bottom line. Isn't that what elections are really all about? So despite the incessant lying of the radical extreme left in this country, the president-elect, Donald Trump, will work tirelessly within the bounds of the Constitution to make America great again, safer, freer, more prosperous, and a better place for all Americans. That's his mandate. No more lawfare, no more censorship, lower taxes, lower interest rates, a secure border, the biggest national security threat we have, better trade policies, free and fair trade, safer streets, no more woke madness and insanity, fewer regulations, lower prices at the grocery store and at gas stations. This is what you, all of you, the American people voted for, and this is what Donald Trump ran on and will try to deliver on, and I have every confidence he will deliver.
I believe he will deliver as well. Now, we need to pray for our president. We need to pray for that he will do what's right, and I pray that he will seek God more than he ever has in his life. He had a close to death, as close as you can to death. I'm telling you, probably a couple inches away, and he doesn't make it through that shot. That bullet grazed his ear and cut his ear, but it was very, very close to him dying. So I pray that he seeks the Lord through this presidency, and we see a change in the White House, prayer in the White House, worship at the White House. And we see all of these things. And I want to see America great again by seeing Jesus being lifted up. Thanks for listening. We'll be back each and every week here on the Faith and Power Podcast. We'll talk about politics. We'll talk about abortion, people's rights, what real rights are. And let me stop right there. Rights and what the left claim to be rights are not rights, they're wrongs. When it comes down to abortion, it is a wrong, it is not a right. Rights without morality is the license to do evil. Think about that. Rights without morality is a license to do evil. What I mean by that is when you, not everything is a right. What people claim to be rights, a lot of things are completely evil, and they're claiming them as rights. So rights need morality. Those two have to go together. Hey, thanks for watching this week. Please like and subscribe. We'll be back each and every Saturday. God bless you, and we'll see you next time.